focus tonight. As we talked about it last night on Mirror Now, we raised an issue that nearly every citizen relates to: the lack of job security. We showed you a clip yesterday where an HR executive from Tech Mahindra sacked an employee over a phone call. No explanation given, no room for negotiation. But we discovered through the night and right through today that story was not the only one. We've received scores of phone calls, of emails, of Twitter messages from people across the country narrating stories that are just as disturbing, or perhaps worse, of how they have been treated by either the HR executives or the management of their own organizations, being thrown out of their jobs after 5, 10, sometimes 20 years of service with no explanation whatsoever. Here's a report.
She just called me and asked me to meet, and then I went to the meeting and she asked me you have to resign. Then I asked them to resign because she told me that you have not been tagged from so long. Then I asked her where I went wrong.
Having so much of senior experience and having a lot of financial commitments, with this kind of commitments and hearing this kind of from the management, it is a very tough Herculean task to listen and survive in the family life.
If you can put on the papers, we'll be treating it as a normal exit. If not, we'll be sending you a termination letter.
But what is this, madam? How is it possible for me? Within a day, within a minute, and you are asking me to give the exit formalities.
By end of the day, we are asking you to put on the papers. I'm giving you time till tomorrow 10 a.m.
The Tech Mahindra audio tape, which went viral, was merely the tip of the iceberg. After Mirror Now took up the issue, employees across India reached out to us, narrating their horror tales.
I have been working for the last 22 years in my life, and when you grow senior, the people, they take a call without any hesitation and without any looking into the performance, and they come back with saying that the company is cost cutting.
Across India, major companies and IT giants reportedly sacked employees indiscriminately with no warning or notice in a brazen violation of labour laws. Amid all the furore, the Hyderabad High Court has issued a notice to Tech Mahindra and the government seeking a reply in 3 weeks.
The Hyderabad High Court has issued notices to Tech Mahindra and the officials of the Labour Department in Telangana. The court has given 3 weeks for them to reply to a petition filed by the employees of Tech Mahindra.
Are you on the firing line? Do you know your rights as an employee? Reach out to us, because your fight is our fight. Mirror Now report.
Well, we're back tonight discussing why organizations are treating employees so poorly. And why is it we're in the middle of this job crisis when we were promised more jobs in this country? The idea here is to talk about the fact that there are laws in our country that protect every individual worker. The labor laws protect each and every one of us. Why is it still that most of these large companies behave in the most brazen manner, like they're not accountable to anybody? A ray of light, of course, like my colleague was telling us, is the High Court in Hyderabad that came out today and said very clearly that this is not acceptable. Joining me on the show this evening, Gopal Krishna Agarwal of the BJP, Ganesh Natarajan, chairman of Nasscom. We also have Anshul Prakash, partner, Khaitan Co, who heads the employment and labour law practices. Kris Laxmikanth, managing director at HeadHunters. E. Raja is the coordinator of the Forum for IT Employees. And we have, joining us through the course of this conversation, we'll have a couple of employees who have been let go of recently. And Alka Dhingra is the general manager of an IT staffing firm, Teamlease Services. I welcome all of you to this conversation. I'm going to start, of course, by going straight to Ganesh Natarajan. Mr. Natarajan, there is, of course, some responses that we've got post the Tech Mahindra audio leak. But given the kind of phone calls and messages we've received on this channel over the last 24 hours, it seems like Tech Mahindra is not the only company. There is large-scale retrenchment happening within the IT sector.
Well, first of all, let me clarify that I'm chairman of Nasscom Foundation and not Nasscom. So just as a matter of clarification. See, let me tell you a little bit about what's happening in the industry. The industry has gone through 2 or 3 inflection points over the last 30-40 years. This is one such, where there are the forces of automation, there is a lot of work on digital transformation. So what's happening because of that is a lot of the skills that have been recruited in the past have got redundant. So in that sense, the industry has gone about in a very systematic manner to look at digital platforms, reskill people, etc., etc. But what is happening because of that is a lot of people are not being able to really cope with the very quick changes in technology, which is why you're seeing that, in every company you have maybe the bottom 2 or 3% really separated because of performance reasons. So performance is under pressure, both for the companies and for the individuals. Having said that, let me make my point of view very clear. As an individual, as somebody who's built his career in the industry, I would strongly believe that while there may be reasons why somebody has to be let go, like in any other country or any other large company, one has to do it in a very humane manner. Even if you believe that somebody's performance is not okay and they have to leave, I think we have to ensure that they are given the time, everything is within the law of the land, and if there is some change to be done, it is communicated well. So I think any attempts to not bite the bullet or really to tell people the wrong thing is really not a right thing. So I would say that all responsible companies should make sure that they give people the chance as much as possible. If somebody is really
Ganesh
poor on
Natarajan,
performance, ask him to leave if you must. But
Ganesh Natarajan, are you telling me that everyone who has been asked to leave up till now has been asked to leave for lack of performance or for lack of skills?
Well, I don't know, because at this point of time, I really don't have access to any individual person. But what you have pointed out anecdotally, and I just heard what you said on TV, I'm sure there are cases where there is people are being asked to leave for much more specious reasons. And I think that clearly must be, if somebody is being asked to leave, the person owes it, or the organization owes it to the person to make sure that you come clean and you tell them the exact reasons. That's what I would recommend.
There's no exact reason specified in the Tech Mahindra phone call that leaked out, to us. And the entire industry has been coming out to say, no, this is about skills. But that Tech Mahindra phone call pointed out to us very clearly that it's not about skills. It was very clearly an HR executive there saying, listen, it's not about your performance. It's not, your performance manager is not part of, this process. This is coming from the CEO. There's a list. You just happen to be on the list. I want you to listen to these other, responses that we have received. This is someone who spoke to us. This is clip number 2. I'm going to ask my my team to play this out, and these are just some of the examples we have received over the last 24 hours of people who have been laid off not because of skills and not because of performance.
I finished my job on that day, on a Friday, came back to home and was resting with my family and my wife and my mother and child. At that time, I received a call from an HR called Bhavya. She openly said to me that you are supposed to come back to office and do the needful with your laptop and VPN pin and an iCard. And I said, anyway, I finished my duty, I'll come back and meet you tomorrow. But unfortunately, they didn't do those things. They said, no, if you don't come, you'll be terminated and you'll be laid off on those grounds. Please do come. And in a hassle, I went back to office and checked. I was cornered by 5 people in one room in a cabin, and they asked me to step down or go to another project if it is not feasible. And they say we on a capital gain or the losses of the company, well-performed employees are laid off, and that was where I was stuck. I was cornered and I was asked to resign, and I was forced to resign for this particular purpose and reason.
Anshul Prakash, who is a lawyer that looks at labour law and heads employment law for Khaitan Co, tell me this, is that fair? Is that ethical from any stretch of imagination? And does labour law allow this sort of thing, that because you're a senior person, because we can't afford your salary anymore, we're letting you go, come back to office immediately, or we will terminate you?
Well, there are ways to strategize employees' exits because you're not really sure how the situation is going to unfold. There could be different scenarios, there could be performance reasons.
Let's assume that in this case, I know that you spend a lot of time representing these large companies and you're normally advising the large companies, but for one moment put yourself in the shoes of the people who've lost their jobs. Do you think this is fair? Do you think that the labour law supports this sort of behaviour where someone on a Friday night is called back into the office and said, bring your laptop, bring your key card, come back into the office, is surrounded by 5 people and said, you have to resign immediately right now?
So exactly, that's what I was talking about. It's not the correct approach or the right strategy. I will not talk about the ethics or any other part of it, because the labour laws in India do provide for certain degree of protection. In fact, if you talk about a manager or an employee at a senior level, even his contractual obligations would equally apply to the company. And in fact, as an organization, you need to honor that commitment which you ought to have made. And from that perspective also, once you refer to the contractual obligations when it comes to an employee's exit, you cannot just call somebody overnight and ask him to leave in a very derogatory fashion. That's not the correct strategy one would really advise an organization. Of course, there are definite reputational risks also which an approach like this would entail. And you have already seen it's out in the media. If an employee really goes out and say that the way he was treated was absolutely unethical and goes beyond the parameters of how a basic human being would have been treated, that won't go down well. In fact, from an organization perspective, what is important is also to bring about a very strong defense in your favor. Because ultimately, if you're talking about an employee exit, it's the strategy, it's the trail, it's the paperwork, it's about the way you have dealt with the concerned employee, because everything counts before the court. And if you know, the courts in India are inclined towards
you're still advising right now the big companies and not the employees. Would you recommend that all employees record all conversations that they have with HR?
No, absolutely not. I'm not talking about any recommendation, because first of all, I was talking about the perspective from an organization, what they ought to do. Because the way it has been played out, calling somebody in the night, on a Friday night or Wednesday night or whatever day it is, what is important for an organization is to treat the concerned employee with dignity. That's the first and foremost approach which one has to take. Proper orientation, not treating an employee, whether he has 5 years of experience or 20 years of experience, doesn't really matter. If you talk about 5 employees exiting the company or 10,000 employees, what really matters is a very correct, clean, and sound approach. You come out clean in terms of how and for what reason you are asking the employee to leave, and you need to have a very structured, systematic conversation with him, not really calling him on phone and cornering him, because ultimately when you talk about a one-on-one conversation, which is the right approach, having one employee sit across the table and 5 people surrounding him, that's not really something which is really called for in a situation like this.
I want to bring in E. Raja. E. Raja is the coordinator for the Forum of IT Employees. E. Raja, this is actually the challenge, the fact that big companies can afford very impressive, very talented lawyers to strategize how to do this, but employees can't.
Yeah, actually, whatever he said is true. They are strategizing many ways. They are targeting employees in a different ways. They are saying performance issue. They target about the employees in bench. They were coming to the office and there was no access at all to the right area, and they don't have laptops also. There was laptops or desktop, whatever it is. They were simply sitting over there, and they target with many reasons and all. But anyway, whatever it comes, we have thousands of recordings. The people are approaching us and saying we have recordings, we have email proofs and everything. We got awards continuously in 10 years with the organization, but suddenly they are saying I'm non-performer. But we are asking them to keep it safe, not to share in social media. But somehow one audio leaked out and it gone viral. Now Tech Mahindra is in. Now everyone is asking, shall I release my audio? Shall I release my audio? But this is creating a panic situation in the IT industry.
You know, in fact, we have one team leader from an IT company who is recently laid off as well, join us currently from Pune. She wants us to keep her, her identity concealed, which we will. Please go ahead and tell us what happened and what, in what manner were you laid off?
Actually, I was experienced, 5-year experienced. So without notice, they just called me on the date, one day, and they are telling you have to put down your paper and you have to go and you have to search a job. So, but it is not, before that they should give me some time. As for the policy, we have 2 months of notice period. And when I said this, they are telling no, it is the corporate has already decided because of cost cutting. You have to give resignation, and it is the decision of corporate. So when I said at least you should have informed me without information how and where I will go and search the job. And they told this is the order this is the order to us also. And when I asked about reasons, so they blocked my asked the reasons. They told that no reason, only the cost cutting is the reason. And I said I am a good performer, and I was not in bench, even I was in project. So they told this doesn't matter to us. And they when I denied to give resignation, they just blocked my access. So LAN ID and password, I am not able to access my system also. Even I am not able to access all mails also. So it is not good that employee working for a long time, they should not treat like us. At least they should give us time, which they did not give us.
Well, there is, of course, the need to treat employees with dignity. Do you believe you were treated with dignity, that the exit process was something that was done with respect for your experience and for your service?
No, I don't think they should not do like this. Us, they should respectfully say us that they should give time to us. So all of a sudden they are calling us and telling that corporate wants resignation from your side. So it is not. It's not that we will join. We have joined the organization with so many exams and all. So we should not give resignation like this. At least they should inform. Mail, written mails, nothing was there.
All right, please stay with us. Gopal Krishna Agarwal of the BJP. We've received even more notes about the fact that something is horribly wrong. Does the government recognize that something is horribly wrong at this point, and the government needs to pay attention to the fact that the IT sector and its employees are in distress?
Definitely, we understand. Yesterday also I was on your program. We have been reading reports like this. These are serious issues, and these are the high-handedness of some of the companies. But I would request these people who are a victim of this high-handedness is that the labor laws in the country are quite strong. They should look into their contractual appointment letters also, and then should go to the legal process. They have nothing to worry. Labor laws are quite protective of the people, and and they should get their rights even if they are being retrenched from their job. Then the companies have to follow a proper procedure, and they cannot act in a high-handedness. If they complain, government will take cognizance, labor courts will take cognizance, even gratuity funds, PF, all these issues, and the notice period, all these have to be complied by these companies. And if they give complaint to the company law board, they will also look into those issues, but they need to stand up and complain. Otherwise nothing will come out of much.
Raja, are you not complaining?
One more thing, let me finish. One more thing is,
okay, go ahead.
The issue
I have a question.
The issue, one more thing I want to complete is, let me complete. Let me complete.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Agarwal, finish your point.
Let me complete. One another issue is, yes, we have to understand there is a problem with the IT industry also. The people, the overall scenario in the IT industry is a challenge. These companies are having pressure on their operational expenses and other things also. So these are to be considered, but they have to go in a legalized manner. They cannot act in high-handedness. The issue of problems of the IT industry have to be tackled in a different way, but they cannot put this kind of illegal act into their operations.
All right, let me bring Raja back in again. Raja, the representative of the BJP says you should stand up, you should complain. Have you not stood up or complained up till now?
Yeah, we have complained, but the threaten what was the threatening is blacklisting is the biggest issue. The HR itself saying that the company is saying that we will not respond to the background verification query if you're going to join in some other company. If your background verification is not completed, you will not be able to join in a new company. And they say we will blacklist you. You will not get any job. If you go against the company, you will not get any job in the country. So these kind of threatenings are there. So people are scared to come out and speak in the media and come out to complain to the Labour Commissioner itself. Even though they complain to the Labour Commissioner, they are having a lot of issues with the identity reveal things and all.
Well, in fact, I would second that, because we've gotten emails and messages from a lot of people. We've been trying to get them onto the show. None of them want to reveal their identity because they're afraid of the consequences of the company that laid them off. And Anshul, I want to understand, is this ethical? Is it fair for a company to say, we will not give you a reference, we will not give you a background check, we will blacklist you from the industry? Can they even blacklist anybody from the industry?
No, I think there's no concept called blacklisting when it comes to the labor laws in this country, or in fact, in terms of the best labor practice which could be adopted by any organization. There's nothing called really categorizing an employee as somebody who is a problem monger, because ultimately if an employee has been, for example, unlawfully terminated, he is exercising his right to approach the proper forum. And I think that's the reason why the gentleman also said that one has to really stand up and talk about the rights which have been violated. So what I was already saying, that if the company has failed to oblige the employee in terms of contractual obligations or statutory obligations, because first of all, I would like to really differentiate between a protected employee. The industrial laws in this country protect all non-managerial employees in terms of statutory retrenchment compensation, which ought to be payable to them. It also requires an organization to notify the proper authority, the appropriate authority, in terms of how many employees have been actually retrenched. First of all, when you say layoff, that's a different concept altogether. It's a predefined term under the law. It's more of a temporary thing. When you talk about a permanent exit of an employee, that's called retrenchment. Okay. And in terms of retrenchment, an employee is appropriately, adequately protected under the law. He is entitled to the adequate notice period, not only under the contract, but also under the law.
And if the company does not give him the notice period, give him or her the notice period, they're supposed to compensate them with those many months of salary?
Yes, so it's either, so for example, if you talk about a 1 month notice, or it's pay in lieu of notice, but you cannot say that if you don't resign, if we terminate your services, then you're not going to get anything. That's something which is not in accordance with the law.
Also, aren't these employees also, do they have a right to a reference letter? Do they have a right to details of their PF accounts? Do they have a right to be paid all dues?
So right to reference is something which could be a standard, let's say a best practice, because if you're talking about, kind of churning in the IT industry, or for example, any other industry as such, if you talk about the manufacturing industry also, it may be going through a rough phase. You have different products for which the demand-supply ratio is not really up to the mark. And in that case also, you need to really look at from a more compassionate perspective. An employee ought to be provided some references, because if you ask him to leave, it's not that the person has not given his time or life to the organization. You need to consider several other factors as opposed to the fact that you are just complying with your legal requirements. So what I'm saying is that you have to comply not only with the legal requirement, you have to combine compassionate approach also with that.
Right. Let me, in fact, bring in at this point Kris Laxmikanth, who's the Managing Director of HeadHunters India. Kris Laxmikanth, what do these companies mean when they say blacklist you from the industry? As a headhunter right now, do you receive notes from previous employees saying, do not, hire this person, don't put them in the database, don't make them available to other organizations? Is blacklisting from the industry actually a thing in the IT industry right now?
Faye, there are two things. One, there is a genuine problem. People are worried about this blacklisting because there is a database available where you can go and refer, number one. Number two, everybody in the industry, there are references, reference checks are done, and at that time the past employer can give a very average reference. Nobody will give a negative reference, but he will say between such and such date to such and such date he worked with us. That is what they will give. They will not say he was a hostile employee, etc. But the point which I would like to make
HR is like
that
they don't
this is a
respond to
very
the emails
genuine
they say.
problem the employees are facing. No, let me finish. The employers also are under pressure. But I was looking at this, is there a solution to this problem? There is, according to me, something in between we can do. You know that all companies with a turnover of over 5 crores have to have keep 2% of their net profits for CSR activities. Now, if you look at the companies under Tech Mahindra is in the top 100 companies which are favorably looked after on tech CSR activities. So is Infosys, so is TCS, and all their employees, all these companies have had employees who have been laid off for various reasons. The point is, out of this CSR, if you spend money on your employees, that should be also looked as CSR, rather than saying that we cannot do it. Or so maybe the BJP and other companies should go to the government and say, when we are trying to rehabilitate an employee, we are laying him off, but we have to give him a rehabilitation. We will have to send him for coaching, counseling, etc. That thing should be allowed as a part of CSR. If, for instance, take Tech Mahindra. Tech Mahindra had an average, if you take the 2%, it would come to around 50 crores. Out of 50 crores, they can, let's assume, give 10 crores only for rehabilitation of employees. It is a big amount.
Well, and also, Krish, the interesting thing is this: if you're going to say that a lot of this is happening because of, because these employees are not skilled, why can't these companies spend money on reskilling these employees? Why is it that most of the retrenchment, to use the correct word as Anshul instructed us, the retrenchment is happening to employees in their mid-30s? Why is it that somehow they don't feel the need to reskill the younger ones who are obviously more affordable on the P&L than the ones who have hit middle management, who now suddenly are more expensive, not just in perks but also in basic salary? We have an anonymous phone call on the line right now who'd like to share their story with us. Go ahead.
Let me finish.
Yes. So I would like to say that it's not about CSR activities, which I'm hearing from the gentleman. I think companies are doing the CSR activities just to promote their name. I think the main topic here is when you want to eliminate employees under the pretext of losing business or something, that is separate case. But why there is a need to threaten the employee? Now, I recently was called by HR to the cabin without knowing the subject of the meeting. And when I entered, there is a vice president of HR sitting and saying, today is your last day, this is your letter, you have to resign and say accept. And by the time I digest this news, another 30 seconds he says, if you do not resign, then you'll be terminated and I'll ensure you don't get a job in any other IT company in Pune. Now, Vice President of HR says this. Where's the dignity of me, IT employees? Where is the self-respect? Where's the human rights, fundamental human rights? First you are terminating an employee. He doesn't know that he's going to be terminated that day. He came to the office like a normal day. And then you are telling him you will not get a job anywhere. What is the option left to that employee? What is the option left to me? Then I was told, hand over the ID card then and there, access card. So story doesn't end there. The stigma doesn't end there. Then I was told, escort this employee to the gate. And at the gate, the security guard checks my bag if there is anything that I'm carrying it. They treat me like a criminal. Is this the way to be treated? Leave the business requirement. Okay, business doesn't need me. There's a loss in the IT because of whatever US policies. Is this the way to treat? Where's my notice period? Why the Vice President of HR has to threaten me? And after that, they say experience letter, everything and all will come to your home because you are signed now. If you don't sign, you'll not get any benefits, you'll not get experience letter, you'll not get the relieving letter, and we'll ensure you don't get a job anywhere in IT in Pune. This is from a top IT company in Pune.
Mr. Ganesh Natarajan, this is what's happening across the board and across various companies. It's not just one company. Various companies. Something is horribly wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think what you've already said in this program, people must, whatever they do, they must do within the law of the land. That's one. Second is protecting the dignity of the individual is extremely important. I've run companies for 25 years. And across Europe, US, Asia and India, there are times when you have to let somebody go. But I mean, I have let people go, and I mean, I still have very good friends with them because they saw the reason. We sat down, we protected their dignity, we gave them time, etc. So I completely agree that whatever be the business exigencies, protecting the dignity of the human being and making sure that you look them in the eye and tell them the truth is extremely important. But that is not a compromise.
What I don't understand here is we keep talking about the fact that everything should be done within the law, everything should be done to preserve the dignity of the employee. It's obvious that none of these companies are following either the law or the line of ethics, but they're getting away with it and they're doing it brazenly, like the employee doesn't matter. Alka Dhingra, this sort of behavior, you will never work in the industry again. I will make sure that you don't get a job anywhere else in the IT industry in Pune, in the IT industry in Bangalore. The fact that these companies are harassing and threatening employees, why do they feel like they can get away with it?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, I agree.
Alka, go ahead.
I agree that this should not happen, and I think, I don't think you can make a sweeping statement saying every company is doing it, but I think any company which is doing it, should correct its ways, and whatever be the company, small, large or medium, I think we have to ensure that in tough times, we deal very humanely with people, because that is our privilege as citizens of this country. And I think as the member from BJP said, or the gentleman from Khaitan said, I think we have to ensure that we protect the law of the land.
Let's all ensure we protect the law. And I didn't say every company is doing it. I said several companies are doing it. And most of them are the biggies of the IT sector, what are called the big boys of the IT sector. Most of them are in the list. This is the list that people are calling us with. Alka Dhingra, my question to you is, why do these companies feel like they are above the law and ethics don't count when it comes to their HR teams?
So these companies are doing it. Definitely this is not the right way of doing it. It needs to be done in a very right and structured approach. Although the layoff which has been happening at the name of, that the cost optimization, or you're sitting on bench, you're not skilled, that's something, they are all the reasons. But I think the right way of doing is that they need to sit with the person, they need to lay out the reasons why this has been happening, and they need to have the consent of the person that why exactly this is happening, what are the reasons, and also they should do something like that while they're doing the exit, or something they can do something innovative by helping these out people understanding that what are the skills they should be, they should skill or train themselves, they should compensate them on that particular skill sets, in getting training for those skill sets, and all that is something these companies need to do in a right and structured manner, is what I would say. And as you were talking about the blacklisted thing, yes, most of the IT companies right now in India, they have been hiring people only after a proper background check, which takes approximately 15 to 20 days, which includes your last 2 employment checks, education check, as well as your criminal check. So these people are afraid of, like, if in case they don't follow all these rules, they might be blacklisted, and that might affect them in getting the opportunities in the next organization, which is true. But threatening people like this is really very bad, and I think this is not, and it's very good that, this case has come up and it's been sensitized so much in the industry because of the one case which has happened recently, and now companies will be definitely careful about this. But threatening people and asking people to leave overnight is definitely not the right way. Companies need to, all these IT companies.
See, we seem to be in general agreement that threatening people and harassing people and asking them to leave overnight is not the right way. I still don't understand why so many companies are still doing it then. If there is a general agreement among people within HR, within the law, within Nasscom, that this shouldn't be done, why is it still being done? We have another phone call right now. I'm going to come back to you because I want you to respond to this. This one is also from Pune. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, hi. I'm an ex-employee of Wipro.
Yes.
I worked in Wipro for 9 years.
Okay.
The HR had a discussion with me and asked me to resign. The reason he gave me that I was in the same career band for more than 5 years.
Okay.
He gave me 2 months to leave the organization. I said it is not possible because I have no job in hand and I have to take care of my family, 8 parents, and to pay EMI. The HR again kept on calling me, threatening me, and if I resign, they will consider it as a normal exit, else they will terminate me. So I wrote an email to the HR asking for the reason of resignation in return. So since there was no resignation from my end, they triggered my resignation on my behalf from back end. Now it is 6 months, now I'm still jobless.
No, hang on. You telling me that your resignation, you didn't write out a resignation letter. It was triggered by the company from the back end on your behalf without your permission?
Yes, yes.
Anshul, is that even legal?
No, absolutely. That practice is beyond any call of ethics or law. And in fact, if that is the case and there is an unfair treatment or unlawful termination, one would really allege. You have the option to go before the Labour Commissioner, and ultimately it's the Industrial Tribunal and the Labour Court who's going to protect the concerned employee. There are ways and the provisions in the law which can be invoked. So that's really about it. I think if the employees have faced a scenario like that, so it's not about only being treated in an unethical or undignified fashion, but it's also important for them to understand their rights. And you know, from that perspective, one has to really stand up and say that this is something which has not happened in the right fashion. And of course, when it comes to something called quote-unquote blacklisting, which I won't agree to, because background checks are not really regulated in India. You cannot say that there is a categorized statement which can be made against any employee, because that goes beyond the four corners of law. You cannot really say.
So tell me something, for this particular employee who feels he has been, and you agree, illegally and badly treated, and the other employees who are probably watching right now who want to know what to do, how do they approach the Labour Commissioner? What should they do? How do they save the evidence, keep the evidence together? What is the first step? How do they get justice?
Can I say something?
Yes, Mr. Agarwal, just let him finish. Let Anshul finish answering this question and then I'll come back to you. Anshul, go ahead.
Yeah, from an employee's perspective, you have got the rights under the Industrial Disputes Act if you are a protected employee. I'm not talking about somebody who falls within the category of a manager. And of course, I'm not getting into the argument who may be called a manager, but if you are a non-managerial person, you fall within the category of a workman. You have got the rights to approach first the Labour Commissioner, who is having administrative authority to really call or question the employer for the reasons in which, based on which the termination has actually taken place. And in case there has been a practice which has been adopted, which is unbecoming of an organization in terms of the law, and the practice, the way it has been followed is not really in accordance with the procedure which has been set out, you can always approach the concerned jurisdictional Labour Commissioner with a plain paper application or a letter. And in fact, there have been several cases in the past where the employees have taken a call and approached the Labour Commissioner, and companies have been forced to come to the table and talk about it. Either it could be a settlement, or either it could be something in terms of, providing adequate compensation and references for that employee.
So the first step is to find obviously a good sound lawyer who can help you.
Not exactly, because let me just tell you, just clarify, industrial laws in this country, I'm talking about the Industrial Disputes Act, it bars the presence of lawyers in any legal proceedings, first of all. You have to take the leave of the court if you're a lawyer to really represent somebody. And in fact, if a company guy is called by the concerned Labour Commissioner or the Labour Court, first of all, it's not that a lawyer is immediately going to be present over there. In fact, from an employee's perspective, you can make a plain paper application just setting out the facts and the circumstances of your termination, and then one has to really adjudicate based on the merits. There are ways to seek interim injunction. There have been orders passed by the courts in the past when they say there has been unlawful termination.
You said, of course, that non-managerial workers are covered by the law, by the labour laws. What happens to managers?
So managers, as I just said, they are not really having the protection which is there under the Industrial Disputes Act, because there is a definitional attribute which is there for a worker or a workman when it comes to a protected employee. I won't use the term blue-collared worker. From the Western perspective, that's not really relevant here. One has to really look at the nature of duties and responsibilities to ascertain whether somebody would be a workman. And in that case, there are protections accorded to him. But for a manager also, there is an employment contract. Now, if you say somebody has got 20 to 25 years of experience and he has given his ears to the particular organization, one fine day he cannot be told that I'm not going to pay you anything if you don't put in your papers, because even whether you resign or whether your services are terminated, there are statutory dues which ought to have been paid to him.
Right. Anon, we have an anonymous caller on the phone line from Hyderabad. I'm not sure if he's ready to give us his name, but we want to hear his story. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah,
Faye, can I say something?
I'm Raghavendra from Hyderabad.
Okay.
I was working at Mobile Iron, and my job was sacked a year before.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very much thankful for Mirror Now for bringing this topic in a national level today. And I had joined a company called Mobile Iron in Hyderabad 5 months before. And the reason for terminating me was like my skill set was not matching with my job role. So I just wanted to ask one question, like if my job role was not matching with my skill set, then why did the company hire me? I had cleared 7 rounds of interview, all for a month, and then I had joined the company. And after 5 months, they just gave the reason that my skill set is not matching with my job role. And I feel like it's a very unethical, unpractical, and unprofessional way of laying off an employee. This lowers the employee dignity as well.
Right. Okay. Let me go back to Gopal Krishna Agarwal, who wanted to say something. Go ahead, Mr. Agarwal. What would you like to say?
One thing I would like to mention is 2-3 points are very important. One thing is this is the crime that some of the companies, as mentioned by these people, are doing. So I think these people who are victim of this situation are empowered sufficiently to stand up for their rights, and the labor laws for Industrial Dispute Act and other labor commissioner etc. are quite favoring the employee.
Mr. Agarwal, they are being threatened by this company saying you will never get another job in the industry.
Wait,
how will they go up against a company that is threatening them in this manner?
As has been mentioned, I also would like to say simply, no, it is simply they have to simply give an application to the labor commissioner. Their contractual obligation the company will have to fulfill. There are gratuity laws, there are provident fund laws, ESI, compensatory laws. Their laws are sufficiently strong in favor of employee. So therefore they have to stand. These are the criminal, what has been mentioned here is a completely criminal activity these companies are doing, and these people are empowered enough sufficient to stand up for that. One thing is this. Another thing I would like to say is, as you also mentioned, that the company should start with skilling. First thing, that these people should all, even those who are employed, should go and look into the employment agreement that they have been given, appointment agreement they have given, what contract, what are their rights, they should understand, and then confirm that they have a proper appointment letter. Second important thing is, government in itself is trying to create alternative mechanism through which employment can be generated. You see, GST is a big sector which can employ IT sectors. The government in itself is trying to start employment, give avenues for Make in India, other areas also government is trying to do that.
Okay.
And
so actually, while that might be a fair point, Mr. Gopal Krishna Agarwal, data doesn't support the fact that jobs have actually been created. Kris Laxmikanth, are the heydays, the golden days of the Indian IT industry over?
Yes.
Have we been creating jobs over the last couple of years, or are we just removing people from their jobs? Is GST creating more jobs? If GST is creating more jobs, why are people being removed in this manner?
Faye, there are two things. One, the international market, there is turbulence for the IT industry. So, and international market is where these companies make good margins. The profits are there. For the local market, the pricing they get is very low, and they have to employ low-cost labor, number one. Number two is, the heydays, if you are saying it is over, yes, it will not grow any longer at 20-25%. It will grow around 5 to 6%. But the problem is one of automation which has come. The point is, these people are being laid off. All of them are getting their due rights. So there's gratuity, pension, provident fund, everything the companies are giving. Companies are not denying them. So it's very difficult for them to go to the industrial relations court or whatever it is. What should the companies should do is, companies like Anand Mahindra has acknowledged that we have made a mistake. All these people are aware that there are mistakes made by the companies. So the company should come out with a plan. That is why I talked about the CSR plan, by which you have money which the government is already given, so you divert part of it for the employees. The moment you do, you set up, in the company itself, maybe a space where the employee who's been asked to go, he sits there, there is career counseling, biodatas are rewritten for them, his psychiatric counseling is there, all sorts of things can be done for him, so that, at the end of it, he can get a job maybe in a GST company, or he can get a job in an IT manufacturing company where IT is required.
But I just want to point out, while Kris Laxmikanth, that's a noble thought. And on the other hand, we have Gopal Krishna Agarwal who's saying that you have the ability to stand up and fight, you should stand up and fight. And Raja, the problem with standing up and fighting against a company that has very clearly said that if you don't accept our terms, you will never work in this industry again. Imagine then filing a claim or filing a complaint in the Labour Commission against this company that will ensure that you never get a job ever again.
This is not the right approach.
Yeah, actually, because of in the background check, we have to.
This way. And
actually, the background check is the biggest problem. The HR says that we won't reply for your background check. Whoever claims, they have no right, but still, if they don't reply, who will they approach and get clarified whether I worked in this company or not?
And Mr. Agarwal, while you might think that it is not fair, it's happening right now. Raja, go ahead. Raja, go ahead.
This can be part of their complaint.
Yeah, I have 3 points.
Do you think...
I have 3 questions actually.
Companies of such high reputation,
job roles actually.
Okay, one at a time. One at a time, please. Mr. Agarwal, 1 second.
Exposed to this kind of.
Okay, so Raja, what Mr. Agarwal is saying is that put down the threatening as part of your complaint. No company will want that officially written out in Labour Commission.
And
so we already written that they are threatening, they are saying that we will blacklist you, everything we have put it in letter. But still people don't want to come in front of the media or don't want to reveal their identity. Even to the company, they don't want to know who filed that. Some people write their name, that's it. No number, nothing, employee ID, nothing, no one. We have to, each and every time we have to get clarified. Before that, I have 3 questions. The job roles they were saying, the manager category, they didn't, they are not comes under the law and all. Yeah, that's true. But I have seen people who are managers, the designations were managers who worked in a technical role, who really a workman. And the workman category, the person who are designated as a workman, they were into managerial role. So there are a lot of issues in that. And I have one more thing. They are not hiring or they are not creating jobs. They are just replacing the jobs with the high cost and the low cost. Most experienced guys like 10 to 15 years of 20 years of experience guys have too much of package. So they are replacing with the 2 years, 3 years experienced guys so that they can save more money. And one more thing is Nasscom initially said that there is no layoff going on. But we have informed them that it is a layoff going on and we are saying in all over the media. But after the audio release, what is the stand of Nasscom now? So they didn't even open their mouth for 4 days.
Well, I'm taking that question to Mr. Ganesh Natarajan. What is Nasscom's stand on the audio release? And Nasscom has been telling us, at least on this channel, up until the audio release, that this is just skill-based and performance-based. Are you still standing by the fact that this is skill-based and performance-based?
No, let me just make 3 quick points because there have been some myths perpetuated on this show. One is that the industry will very much bounce back because this is a pivoting time when people are pivoting from traditional to digital. So I fully expect that in 3 years' time, the industry will be back to 10% to 15% growth. That's point number 1. Point number 2, most companies, and I'm fully aware, are investing heavily in reskilling their employees. In fact, I myself in my investment company 5F World, we've invested in a company called Skills Alpha, which is training close to 5 lakh people using digital platforms, and companies are paying for these things. The third point, your point, which is absolutely right, Nasscom does not have a point of view on individual companies, what they're doing. Nasscom is very clear that, look, there should be complete, as I mentioned earlier, law of the land should be followed, dignity of labor should be done, and my belief is that all the larger companies would do that. If there are errant HR people or errant companies, they should be taken to task. So I think that's very clear as far as I'm concerned personally, and I think as far as our industry is concerned.
Anshul, go ahead.
Well, I think all of us are discussing, the discussion is going all over the place because what really matters is, first of all, within the domain of law, how you're acting. The first thing would be that the HR personnel in any organization cannot act like postmen. There has to be a very structured approach, a proper orientation as to how to deal with and strategize and exit. And when I say strategy, it is not something which is, being really implemented in a more hushy manner. As opposed to the fact that you come out clean. And the first thing which needs to be negated at all the costs is having telephonic conversation with any employee. We are not talking about an overseas employee who is stationed anywhere across the globe. You are talking about somebody who is within the domain of the city, within the vicinity. Having a one-on-one conversation, first of all, looking at a person eye to eye, and really telling him about the company's prospects. Let's face the situation. The IT industry is facing problems right now, and for any industry for that matter. It could be the case tomorrow that the steel industry will face issues. It could be the case that any other industry probably having a shop floor with 200 employees is facing the same issue. But the idea has to be that what exactly are you thinking from an HR perspective? When you say human resource perspective, you need to combine law, ethics, the basic principles and tenets of natural justice when it comes to treatment of employees. And that's the strategy one has to adopt from a lawyer's perspective or as an organization.
Right, and Mukesh from Mumbai called in to ask us, what are my rights as an employee? So while I wrap up the show and thank our panelists, because the problem has not gone away and we're going to continue to take a very close look at it. We're going to continue to also stay in conversation with people like E. Raja, who are working with the Forum of IT Employees, helping people seek their rights. So here are your rights. If you are being retrenched, which means you are being removed from your job because the company is cost cutting, it's not your fault, you are entitled to your entire notice period. If you're not being given your notice period, you should be given payment in lieu of that notice period. You are also entitled to all of the details of your PF account. You are also entitled to all your dues, all of the salary, everything that's pending, including your gratuity. That should be paid on your last day of working. Nothing should be kept pending. It should be handed to you over to you immediately. And of course, like has been pointed out by the legal expert on the panel, harassment, threatening, saying that you will be blacklisted, saying that you will never work in this industry again, actually resigning on your behalf and generating a resignation letter from your email ID without your permission, all of these things are illegal and the law is on your side. So are we. For employees who are watching across the country who are wondering if you're alone, you're not alone. We're here to help. Contact details are on your screen. You can continue to reach out to us and we will put you in touch with people who can help you out. Thanks for watching.